Boo boo. Welcome to Covers' Puck Props with 14-year NHL vet Carlo Colaiacovo, man who is steering the positivity ship within the city of Toronto. A man who has never said a bad word about this Maple Leafs team. He's always had their back. What a game. What a game. That's all you needed. And that was the talk about, that was the talk on your show today.
Well, I mean, you say what a game. I mean, why did it take 5 games for them to understand they need to play like this?
Yeah.
Right? That's the frustrating part, is that they're capable of playing like this. Why did it take 5 games for them to do it? Because Austin
Domi in the
Matthews
dot, though. How about Domi in the dot? Like, if Domi's going forward, Domi assists at plus 200 are a gift for a guy who you could tell didn't want to shoot the puck.
No kidding.
Right?
Jeez. Shoot the puck, Max.
No way. Win 90% of your faceoffs and pass to everybody. And we just keep hammering those assists, even in 1-goal games. All right. All odds coming via Sports Interaction, bud. We got a 2-game slate. And Vegas, Dallas, hey, thank you for moving it to a reasonable time just because there's only 2 games. What's our take on this? Dallas minus 160 on the money lines, total sitting at 5.5. Dallas was minus 140 in game 1 at home, and then minus 160 after the loss in game 2, which they also lost. But now we see some momentum in Dallas's favor, winning both games in Vegas after the OT winner, Wyatt Johnson, in game 3. And then Rupi Hintz buries the empty netter for the 4-2 win to draw things even. How have you seen this series? I know you've been a big Vegas guy. I know you just like the blueprint of that team.
Yeah.
Do you think the momentum certainly swung in Dallas's favor, though?
100%. Look, I've been a big Vegas guy all year, but I've also been a big Dallas guy come playoff time, because I think if there's a team that can beat the Vegas Golden Knights, I think the Dallas Stars are well suited to beat the Knights, and especially with how deep they are on their roster and their goaltending. And we saw that show up in game 3 and game 4. Surprisingly, this has been a road series. I mean, when Vegas goes into Dallas and takes the first 2 on the road, you're thinking to yourself, wow, Dallas has to win 4 of the next 5 against Vegas to win this series. And Dallas goes in and wins the next 2 games. And it just goes to show how evenly matched and how tight this series is, because you got 2 really good teams going at each other. But you'd have to think the momentum is squarely back on Dallas's side, especially when you got Wyatt Johnson leading the way. And like, if you had to sort of try to handicap this, I mean, it's been a road series, so why wouldn't you like Vegas in this matchup right now with the plus money that they're presenting?
Oh, there are reasons. But before we get to those reasons, that Jamie Benn hit got me real stiff. I'm just gonna say that. When Buddy hit Stanky and he just came over and looked from that hit from the blue line.
Yeah.
That's like, if I saw that in Toronto, I would
that's what got both teams excited about the start of that game, is you got 2 big hits from 2 big boys.
Oh, that's the best. I'm such a big Ben fan right now.
Yeah.
But you said Vegas, you said it's a road series, but I'm going Dallas. I mean, they're minus 160, minus 165 on the money line, but team total over 3.5 plus 115 at Sports Interaction. That's where I'm going. Looking at the metrics, looking at the game, we saw Vegas score in such low numbers, like on such low shooting in the first 2 games, and really didn't have to do anything. On the series, Dallas at 5-on-5, winning the scoring chance differential by the best margin in all playoff teams, plus the best differential in high danger chances for. They're getting chances. They're not just finishing. Looking over at Vegas, 6.6% shooting at 5-on-5. That's 14th in the playoffs. They've really relied on the power play. It helped them out in games 1 and 2. It's not there. Now, with this team total also, Carlo, we can still get crappy Jake Ottinger like we saw in games 1 and 2, which would also help Dallas engage in this spot. Yeah. I know you do like the other side, but would you be really surprised tonight in maybe a 3-3, 4-5, like maybe one of those shootout games?
Be honest with you, man, I would be. Just because there's a tendency throughout series, and I know we didn't
to
see
tighten up as they get further.
Yeah, we didn't see that in Colorado and Winnipeg because Colorado just absolutely steamrolled through Winnipeg. Like,
Hellebuck is a fraud. Imagine, like you guys have talked on your show, if he was in Toronto, oh God.
man, it'd be disaster time for him. And because we're 2-2 right now, and this like game 5 being such a pivotal game, I would hate to think that both teams want to get themselves into a track meet type of game. So it's partly why the total is probably sitting at 5.5. I think the books are probably expecting that too, because they're both two really good teams. And I know Ottinger gets a lot of love for being a big name goaltender, but Logan Thompson in this series has been lights out, absolute lights out. Dallas needed to score a goal last game that hit one of their players, almost in the face from behind the net. It's because they're having a hard time beating Thompson clean. So look, we've seen crazier things happen with penalties and bad goals go in that could open up a game. But I don't know. I'm kind of on the other side of this one where I expect it to be a tighter checking game. And that doesn't necessarily mean we can't see a 3-3 hockey game that turns into 4-3 with an overtime goal.
I just think Dallas breaks out. I think the numbers indicate that they just haven't scored. They haven't scored more than 3 regulation goals.
They've been the more dominant team offensively, 100%. I won't disagree with that.
Yeah, and when you have obviously that third line now contributing with Wyatt Johnson being last year's Rupee Hintz, there's a lot to like, especially with Ben on that wing and Stanky too. But I mean, if you've watched the series and you've watched us talk about block shots too, especially with Vegas, all the value was gone out of Vegas block shots just because there was so much track record of what these guys did in the playoffs last year and like how well it was known. And when that information is out, it's hard to find value. But now they're opening up a lot of markets to other guys, and guys like Thomas Harley, who is a very underrated young defenseman in this league, over 2.5 block shots, plus 140. They are slow to adjust this line. And as I said many times, when I want block shots, I want plus money in this spot. He's blocked 5, 5, and 3 in his last 3 games, and he's playing over 22 minutes. And that's always a big thing, big minutes. And honestly, there is a projection for overtime is not out of the case in this game. And to see
extra time always helps.
It certainly does. Unless it's what the Toronto game where it's done quickly. I don't know. But projection game script with Dallas leading, which really helps this out. And like I said, 9 guys on the market, hard to price everybody efficiently. So Thomas Harley over 2.5 blocks, plus 140. If you're looking for something on the Dallas offense, it's really hard to find. But Wyatt Johnson for a point, over 2.5 shots on goal is also plus money. Let's get to game 2, bud. Kings, Edmonton. Edmonton sitting nearly minus 200 favorites. Totals creeping to 6 from the 6.5. They've run up the score, and now they've added a 1-0 win in the series to the resume. What are the Kings feeling heading into game 5, especially after the Kings outplayed Edmonton well in that 1-0 loss and then come away with nothing to show for it? So do they bounce back and say, we can play that game again and hopefully find better results? Or is it like, we gave it a hell of a shot and we still got away from nothing, now it's kind of deflating?
Well, any player on a team would obviously have the mentality of, hey, let's play it again and see what happens. I mean, just look at the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. Everybody wanted to start writing the obituary and rebuilding the team for next year on Monday. And then we wake up this morning after a 2-1 overtime win in a game that they played was something we haven't seen them play with that much consistency and that much dominance throughout the whole series. They get a win out of it. And now for LA, I know they didn't get a win out of their last game, but they were the better team. They couldn't score. You got to think to them, like I've never come back from a 3-1 series deficit, but I've been on a team that's given up a 3-1 series lead.
1 seed to 8 seed or 2 to 7?
It was 2 to 7. Yeah. We were the 7th seed with the Red Wings and sorry. Yes, it was the second round. No, it was a 1-7 matchup because it was the second round. We played Chicago and we were up 3-1 in the series. And I remember this so clear that game 5 was in Chicago. And for the first 4 games, we had absolutely stifled Kane, Taves, Sharp, all their top players. They couldn't hit the score sheet. And there's that famous video of Jonathan Taves going into the penalty box on Brent Seabrook in a game in Detroit where he's consoling him, saying, hey, man, don't lose your cool. We need you and stuff like that. The next game in Chicago, we were up 3-1, and we went into it with the feeling, okay, let's try to steal another one. But I got the feeling that we didn't go in confident enough to win because we wanted to win game 6 at home. And that game, we lose 5-1, and we let all their star players get on the score sheet. And you just knew that was something they were going to use as momentum to try to win game 6 to bring it back to game 7. We lose game 6. We were up 2-1 going the third period. We gave up 2 goals in the third. We lose 3-2, and then we lose game 7 in overtime 2-1. So for LA, knowing that, look, you're not getting the results, but you're doing a lot of things well, the focus has to be to just try to get one game, bring it back, you see what happens. And we've talked to many guys, like Mike Richards is a great example of comebacks because the teams he played on that were down 3-0. He played on 2 teams that were down 3-0, came back to win 4 straight to win the series. And he basically said, look, if you're thinking of the struggle, or if you're thinking of the challenge to win 4 games, then you're telling yourself you're not going to win. But if you just focus on winning the next game, every game builds more pressure on the team that's up. So if you're LA, that's all he has to be their focus. They got to find a way to beat Skinner. Even though they were all over Edmonton, you just don't think they did enough in front of them to create their second and third chances. So that's something that, look, they beat them in game 2. They're clearly capable of playing with Edmonton. They just got to find a way to keep up with the scoring with Edmonton.
So let's go. Kings shots on net. Kevin Fiala. Oh, he's jumping it over. Oh, he's producer Brady's blown my cover on the Kings money line. Kevin Fiala over 2.5 shots on goal, -125. Coming off that shutout. Pucks on net, nothing fancy, ugly. I want the 3+ shots in each game. He's gone over in each game. He leads the team in shot attempts per 60, and he's averaging 7.6 shot attempts per game at 19 minutes. It's just another one of those players who his production in the playoffs is adjusted, but he's being priced little more as the guy he is during the regular season. So that's one I like. Game script wise, if they're trailing, that's great. But I do think I have to dabble on this Kings money line at +155. Me and you were talking about the 2.5 team total of 2.5. That's -125. I don't mind that either. But my biggest thing in this spot where the Kings money line might hold the most value is hopefully the lack of power play opportunities Edmonton gets in an elimination game. They've scored 8 of their 18 goals so far on the power play in the series. They have 3 multiple power play goal games, which is not something you see that is consistent through an entire 6-game series. That's a hard thing to do. And we know, refs don't want to give Edmonton 7 power play opportunities. Sure, there could be some high stakes and obviously some belligerent calls, but those 50-50 calls might be now 25-75 to put an arm up in an elimination game versus the Kings. They don't want to put them on the ropes there. And if you're looking at the metrics, the Kings, it's kind of the expected goal battles, 50% so far in this series at 5-on-5. So if the Kings can keep this at 5-on-5, that certainly increases their opportunity to win. Like you said, this team has some serious leaders on it, guys like Drew Doughty and guys who have lost. You think that mentality, that same Taves mentality, can get portrayed to other guys who, there's some young guys, right? Like Byfield is young, but there's
the key to LA's success tonight is they've got to stay out of the box.
Yeah.
Simple
for sure.
That. Simple as that. If they have any chance or hope of winning this game, they've got to stay out of the box and they've got to be opportunistic with their chances. Simple as that. If they don't, then we're probably looking at Edmonton winning this in 5 games.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm willing to take it. I think the value on the money line at +155 is the fact that hopefully Edmonton doesn't get a 5 to 7 power play opportunities like they already have in the series. And it's tough to find any value on these player props at this point, especially on Edmonton, Bouchard for
Everything's too pricey.
It is, and because they're so top heavy right now, and like Adam Henrique hasn't really done much in that role with his opportunity, and he's only getting 13 minutes a game. And I mean, Bouchard, what they only had 16 shots in the last game.
Yeah, I think 13 shots was the total they had in the last game.
Yeah, Bouchard did have 2 and the goal, but it's tough to lay juice with something, and that's kind of why we've pivoted to stuff like block shots where the markets are a little less efficient.
It's so true though, eh? Like and during the season we focus a lot on assists and goals and power play points
of guys moving up and down the lineups, but that doesn't exist.
100%. I think in playoffs where you can really be profitable is the block shots markets, because there's more of a focus to do that come playoff time.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. And like those plus money, like guys, there's the overtime thing that helps, and then there's guys who can get 6 block shots with a market of 1.5. Like if you ladder those up and you get a game, you could be up 7 units on one guy targeting in a great shot on goal matchup. So there is some situations where let's be honest, Edmonton is projected to be playing with this lead. The projected game script for this game is Edmonton with the lead.
Yeah.
That projects the Kings to be the shooting team, hence the Fiala shot on goal. But then on the other side, then that's where you kind of look for Edmonton players to block shots. If you are playing with the lead, you should essentially be blocking more shots, correct?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so if you're struggling to find things, especially on tonight's slate with Edmonton minus 200, Dallas minus 165, head over to Sports Interaction, find those block shot markets, and do a little bit of work. Head over to moneypuck.com. Find block shots per 60. Find guys who are on PK1, guys who are playing 20 minutes. Always have an opportunity to block 3+ shots, especially when the Kings are coming off a shutout and their season's on the line. Like if you want to find a game script for lots of shots, this King games, I think certainly has it with the Kings.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Quick rundown here for the boys. Appreciate everybody there in the chat as always. We started off with a little bit of team total. Where were we? Yeah, Dallas team total over 3.5, plus 115. Thinking Dallas breaks out. The numbers are indicating that they are. The talent's there. Hopefully the momentum is what's the word I'm looking for? The synergy to get us across the line here for an offense that hasn't scored 4 goals, not including empty netter so far in the series. And then we went block shots with Todd Harley, who's playing over 20 minutes, big minutes, and has gone over this in 3 straight games, plus 140. Great number there. Then we jumped over to the other game. Like I said, the Kings have a good shooting matchup today, especially with the projected game script, over 2.5 shots on goal, minus 125. But I do think if the Kings can keep this at 5-on-5 and keep that power play off the ice, it's just so lethal, then this plus 155 will look great. And I think because of the elimination game, hopefully there's not as many penalties. But let's leave it at that. Back tomorrow for Leafs, bud. Leafs. And it's going to be Domi again. And let's put Matthews. Is it safe to say Matthews is more doubtful than probable?
Yes.
Like that's what I would say, right? Like they've been so tight-lipped. I get it. It's tough for the team, but you saw how they played last night. So we'll be looking at that matchup specifically tomorrow. Same time, 10 o'clock. Appreciate everybody there in the chat. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Carlo Colaiacovo. This is NHL Puck Prop presented by Sports Interaction. See you tomorrow, 10 o'clock.
Can't wait, buddy. I need some winners tonight, so I like these plays.